Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a great honor for me and to stand here and come to this the China PGM's Market Summit to share with you about the reverse invoicing policy. I'm going to share with my company, Deloitte, and is one of the biggest consulting company of the whole world. And we also have the law institution, and we also have the tax and business advisory group. And from our internal branch, actually, I belong to the section of minerals and metals and in the mining industry. So that's why in my past 20 years of practice, I basically focus on the recycled the resources. And I know, and a lot of you present here, maybe you pay more attention to the recycling industry. Probably maybe you are the practitioners and in this industry. Actually, a lot of these business scenarios and the loss and gain and the taxation plays a very important role. So that is why, and it's a great honor for me and to join and this kind of group and for the reverse invoice. And I join in the discussions of this National Taxation Bureau. So that's why after having this new policy in terms of reverse invoicing, so the kind of important key issues and industry pay attention to in the recycling business area. And the first thing I'm going to share with you, so the policy of this reverse invoicing background is that, in March 13, 2024, the State Council issued the action plan and for promoting and replace the old with the new. So that's why this new action plan and promote a kind of the large scale equipment renewal and consumer goods and for trading. So that is why and on April 25th, 2025, and the State Council and the Taxation Bureau and launched this kind of new policies for reverse invoicing. And there's kind of item 40, and after being practicing and for certain while of the item 40, although it gave kind of 3% deduction of taxation. However, people still feel that there are a lot of issues in the industry. For example, and for the individuals and the small business owners, and while recycling the reusable and the resources and materials, and individuals could not provide the receipts. So that's why, and for the enterprises are facing a lot of risks in terms of the tax. So that's why, and there are still a lot of issues. I think we sit here, so whether we are from the recycling industry or from the other industry, so and you clearly feel that, and there's huge power and of the taxation, and including and the changes and of the taxation, and the new chief of the tax bureau required that. So for the taxation, I need to focus on the major business. So that is why, and there are more and more strict rules and for tax collection and throughout the whole country. There are a lot of checks and examinations and of the taxation. So according to some statistics, and when we go to 2023, and the national income and expenses, and actually, and you can see there's a huge gap, and in terms of the income and the gains and the loss. So a lot of them and goes to the taxation. So that's why how to collect the tax is very important role to us. So we clearly see that, and for the audit office, and they did a summary last year, and the audit office, and they actually emphasized that for the tax bureaus and the tax collection didn't meet the requirement, especially basic requirement is unmet. So that's why within this background, although a lot of people said that after having these policies of this reverse invoicing, so basically, and you can see the individual tax, and it's added. The individual income tax is added, so it's very difficult for the industry. So that's why, and how and can we require or ask the State Council and to be nicer and to these policies in China of the industry? Of course, this is very difficult task. So this is about announcement 5 and the new policies of the reverse invoicing. And after having the new policies, there are a kind of the explanation of this new policy follow up. And I'm going to share with you more details about this policy. According to the rules of the policies, and from April 29th, 2024, the natural person sellers of scrap products as the sellers, and to resource recycling enterprises, and if they sell and these scrap products and to these resource recycling enterprises, and if they are qualified and the eligible resource recycling enterprise can issue the invoice to the sellers. So normally, the sellers actually and they send the invoice and to the buyers. And however, for this reverse invoicing, basically is on the other way. So why it happens? Because you can see in the recycling resource industry, basically sellers are from individuals and maybe some small business owners and small and private sellers. So maybe they don't have enough capabilities for managing the tax. So that's why these resource and recycling enterprises, they assist the upstream sellers and to do the invoicing well. So that is why there's a policy of this reverse invoicing. Of course, I don't go to more details about and this scrapped product sellers. So it doesn't mean that you can randomly and have this kind of invoice or something. So because in the laws, and it is said that if the cumulative sales of the natural person selling scrap products for 12 consecutive months of the reverse invoicing, so which means any continuous 12 months. For example, if I go to sell the recycled resources, and if the others and they so if they make out an invoice for me, and if the amount is more than 5 million, and then the others, they cannot make out an invoice for me. So if a company and if a person and they sell and plus to different companies, so if the overall total invoicing amount is over 5 million, and what would it be? So you don't need to worry about different buyers. So there's a kind of calculation in the system. So the system automatically calculate, whether and the overall amount is reached 5 million or not. And today I will go and more details for you. The implementation of this reverse invoicing policy. So how and can the enterprise in industry meet the requirement? For example, and if you are in the area and of hazardous and wasted and scrapped products, and then you need to go to get a certification. And if you are in the area of recycled vehicles, you also need to apply a kind of certificate. And for the others, so it belongs to you. And the item 3, so in addition to the hazardous waste area and recycled vehicles and the other areas, and need to apply for that. And you need to register, and then you need to have the files recorded and within certain department. So if the enterprises, you need to adopt this reverse invoicing to the sellers, to the individual sellers, and you need to make these 3 conditions. Of course, and if you do this reverse invoicing, you need to submit this chart on the left. So this is more enterprises application form for reverse invoicing. So you need to provide the supporting documents like we mentioned in the previous 1, 2, 3, and then you need to supply these materials and documents. Of course, and some enterprises already started this on the reverse invoicing, and some are still observing because there are some additional risks, right? right? So for those and who are still not yet and to try this, so because the policy is always there, so within the short term, the City Council will not address this policy. So how do you do this? So you need to log into the e-taxation. I needed to get a tax, and then you select get the invoice and within the blue frame and go to the specific category and scroll down and go to the section of purchase described products and back to the invoicing page. So why a lot of people they reject adopting this policy? Because when you go to issue an invoice, you need to get into the name of the natural person and your ID number and a lot of the details of your information. So that's why a lot of people they would be worried. For example, I used to do the offline transaction by cash, and for now everything is online and my personal information and is basically open and to this national bureau, right? National Tax Bureau, and then in the future I would probably maybe pay additional 35% of the tax. So I make this effort to the others and I help the others. However, I need to pay extra tax. So that's why a lot of enterprises are not willing and to adopt the policy of the reverse invoicing. Of course, here we understand that, but in the filing process, and you can clearly see that you need to follow this procedure. On step 5, and in the specific item names, and you need to put in the product category and the names of the scrap products and the units and amount, and selecting appropriate tax rate, and then starting issuing and the invoice. And when you do the reverse invoicing, and after having this policy, actually, and the tax office and the state administration of taxation, they already upgraded the categories and the codes of different products and services. Okay, so if an error is generated and within this reverse invoicing, so there are some other issues, for example, credible receipts or something, and there will be kind of the offset or something. So I don't go to the details. In terms of types of the invoicing, so it depends. And this resource recycling enterprises, whether they use this general taxation or maybe simple taxation method. So for the details, you can refer to announcement 40. So, and if the upstream is the natural person, so if I pay 13% of tax, so it generates a lot of burden to me. So that is why the State Council they give us a very simple way for calculating the tax, which is 3%. However, and originally, and my company, my tax is 3%. However, if I do this reverse invoicing, I have to issue the regular and the taxation. So if I switch to 13% of the tax and then the reverse invoicing, and you can go to this VAT special, and so that's why you need to make that clear. And for those recycling enterprises, when you issue this reverse invoicing, you need to help the sellers, including those big individual investors and natural persons. You will pay an added VAT or the other income tax on behalf of them.
They have to fill out these two forms on the screen. On the left-hand side, it is the report for declaring the tax on behalf of the seller. And on the right-hand side, it is the report on the details of the tax. So you need to make sure that the details are correct and in accordance with the amounts as well as other details on the invoices. And also, we have to note that if you need to declare the tax on behalf of the seller, you have to first of all obtain the seller's consent to the reverse invoicing, as well as other tax matters. And one of our concerns is, of course, individual income tax. And of course, although there's only 0.5% of pre-tax or prepaid tax, however, the sellers need to settle its income before the 31st of March and the next year. For the individual business owners or a partner or proprietors, if they need to enjoy the preferential tax policy, they need to follow this rule and to see what kind of a tax rate is able to enjoy. If the income is over 1 million in that year, the tax rate will be well over 35%, and that is why the policy is not that proactively implemented by those actors. And also, there are some questions like if the 0.5% is paid, and if you have received if you received the reverse invoices from two kind of your buyers, both A and B, and how the tax authorities is aware of that. And of course, you don't need to worry about that. Actually, everything is considered by our authorities, and there's strict regulations on the flexible or freelance platforms and e-invoice platforms. Everything is in monitoring with the tax authorities. Start from March this year, the ACT state tax authorities has implemented a kind of mechanism, the I-team mechanisms on the online tax platforms. For example, if I use my invoices to issue these invoices, and if your annual income is 3 million, after the policy is implemented, the ACT it will be aware that your total income this year is over 3 million. And that is why you will be quickly logged by the authorities, and you have to pay the tax before the end of March the next year. And that really avoid the loopholes and or false statement financially. And that really boosts up our confidence. So another part is about the recycler. And of course, recycler can still enjoy preferential policies, although the regulations is pretty stringent and quite pressing, but still there are certain preferential policies we can enjoy. So while we are enjoy or apply those policies, of course, invoices are needed. Therefore, people are asking whether reverse invoices could be applied, could be used in preferential policies. The answer is yes. But the precondition is that the whole process of invoicing needs to be totally or completely compliant. And in addition, there's a policy about the natural person. So in 1 month, if your income is within or under 100K, you will enjoy a kind of tax exemption policies. And this policy is extended to 2027. So there is a question that reversing invoice, for simplified taxing, it is lower in rate. And so are we able to enjoy 1% when my income is under 5 million? The answer is still yes. If you look at the terms, you are able to see this part of the tax exemption policies. So for simplified and general taxing method, for some enterprises, originally you go for simplified, and then later on you want to switch. So Is there any policies that regulating certain switch? Yes, there's a time frame. So for those enterprises that already already settle your calculation method, and before the implementation of the regulations, that is a transition period, you can still enjoy the preferential policies. But after you settle with your calculation method, within the 36 months after your settlement, you cannot change or you cannot switch to another calculation method. And now with the new regulations coming into play, coming into force, if the enterprises tax cannot be reduced, people say that there's not quite reasonable. And in response to those concerns, the government has issued another policies making that if it is a business for tax levy, invoices is still needed for the tax deduction. And but people argued that in the past experience showed that even without those invoices, tax deduction is still available or still feasible. So people are wondering whether certain kind of a tolerance can extend it to future. That will be quite challenging because there is certain fairness needs to follow, and we still need to provide a level playing field to the market. Therefore, certain kind of regulations and policies, not only for our recycling industry, but also needs to be applied to other industries. So we have to consider, we have to be more inclusive. And so if it is offline statements, in many cases, you know that I talk to those authorities a lot. And I'm aware that it is quite a normal practice to check your bank statement or financial statement. Last year in Shenzhen, there's a noodle restaurant has received audit from the authorities. They have to show to the audit all the financial statement for compliance. And of course, there's a transition period for the new regulations to be implemented, but nevertheless, the new regulations poses a great challenges to this industry. So what are the challenges we are facing? Well, first of all, we need to make sure that all the docs and vouchers are authentic, are real. All the details needs to be archived for further auditing. Even if you don't have the ledgers, you really need to prepare the ledgers in order to be compliant to the new regulations. For our recycling industries, in the auditing, if there is a false invoicing or false statement happened, while these vouchers will be very critical. And so you know that I have done a lot of trainings for those recyclers, and I help them to cope with those auditings, external auditings. And I also a part of a case for false invoicing, false financial statement of a major recycler in China. And I know too well about your pain points. So I'm very happy to offer your help so that you will find it's much easier to handle the external audit from the authorities. So in the audit, sometimes you also need to present to the auditor about the ID, number of the drivers, and etc. So now I'm working. my firm is working with the industry to make the standardization and the regulations, and many of our devices rejected, but some of them have already accepted. And so in terms of a precious metal, for recycling, for PGM, the cap is 5 million. It seems that it's not quite reasonable for our industry in particular. We also give your feedback to the authorities, and we received a response from the authorities. For example, someone asked if we have applied to, if multiple recycler enterprises supply to a natural person, and what if we are exceeding the limits? Are we able to invoice? And so the response is in the system. You are able to see whether you are able to issue the invoices or not. And also if my operators is not able to work on these systems, and so the issue is currently receiving a great deal of attention, but for the time being, there's no definite answers. And also for 5 million cap, this is really a controversial issue. For a precious metal industry, are we able to relax a bit on this cap? So actually, well, for the time being, 5 million is beyond argument. Yeah, cannot change the cap for the time being. So now, another pain point we are facing in the recycling industry is that the tax returning policies. So from January, our authorities are holding many meetings and stressed that we need to take a stringent measures to fight against those illegal tax return practice. And also we have a new rules coming to the market requiring the government at different levels to receive or to illegally arrange physical expenditures for tax revenues. So, well, probably in the future, we need to do some preparation, make some plan in responding to these new regulations. Many recyclers recently have asked me that whether the past tax returns I received will be required to return to the authorities after the new regulations implemented. Well, my answer is, of course, wait and see. And currently, the regulations become more stringent. We have to be aware of that. We have to keep mindful of that. And also for natural person, for individual business owners, I know that you have concerns whether your tax return will be confiscated by the authorities. My advice is that you need to say goodbye to the history. And so I also heard a case, a story, that the consumption, there was an issuer, public issuer is levied with like 500 million consumption tax. So the enterprise is so angry, and so therefore you really. However, I think for the time being, they have to say goodbye to the history, to all those illegal practices they have done in the past.
And I think you need to the enterprise in recycling, resource industry, and then you need to pay more attention to that because you will be exposed to a lot of risks, including the recent policies. And of course, time is up. So just to pay more attention to this, and you can see, and from the legal perspective, kind of punishment of the tax and evasion, and the details. And if it is very serious, and maybe, and you will be punished by laws. So for the opportunities of the industry, of course, and for this and the trade up and trading, and including a lot of the industries like energy saving, water saving, security, and production, and all of these policies are included. And there are policies of different areas and regions. Just to summarize, and in this very strict and the rules and for taxation, and in terms of reverse invoicing, just to pay attention to whether there are some changes of the rules and the regulations. And I noticed that a lot of the resource recycling enterprises, they go abroad, and then they have a lot of the overseas technologies and costs in the other countries. So maybe they don't have very good methodology for them to recycle and to take advantage of it. However, and China is forbidden and to import this overseas and waste. So a lot of these Chinese enterprises going abroad a lot. So that's where these enterprises, and they actually put a lot of business in the overseas countries, and after making them into finished products, and then they import them into China again. And if you're interested in this, you can talk to us, you can contact us. So thank you so much and for the organizer and for giving us this opportunity, and wish in the future, and then we can talk to each other in private.